Warning, some viewers may be too lame to enjoy the following information.
Hershey Park has officially announced their new attraction for 2020, Candymonium, the world's sweetest roller coaster. The attraction will stand 210 feet tall, making the ride a quote-unquote hypercoaster. A hypercoaster is any roller coaster between the height of 200 to 299 feet tall. So okay, great, this looks awesome. But if you look back a few years ago, Hershey Park opened another hypercoaster by the name of Skyrush. Skyrush opened in 2012 and is 200 feet tall. It is very odd for a park to build two hypercoasters in the same park, especially within such a short time frame of each other. Looking at the stats of the two attractions, they are hardly different. Candymonium is 10 feet taller than Skyrush and is a whole 1 mile per hour faster, and the coasters are located right next to each other. So why would the park open two similar rides just 8 years apart from each other and not opt for a different kind of coaster? Well, as similar as the rides may seem, the two are actually quite a bit different, and I'll try to explain why I believe Hershey Park is installing a second hypercoaster so soon after Skyrush. There is no denying that hypercoasters are absolute crowd pleasers. They're very popular and often the crowd favorite ride at a park. Hypercoasters bring in large crowds that help to drive attendance gains and boost revenue. Thus, it made sense for Hershey Park to open Skyrush in 2012 as the park's attendance was growing, and why not bolster that growth with the addition of a crowd-pleasing coaster? Well, at the time, Hershey Park was very landlocked, meaning that there was almost zero room for the park to expand. The park wanted a hypercoaster, and I'm sure they scoped out a few different locations in the park to build one. At the end, they settled with the location that Skyrush was built in, a tight sliver of land located towards the front of the park. However, this plot of land is extremely small for a ride of this size and magnitude. Hypercoasters are typically very sprawled out and occupy massive amounts of space, whereas Skyrush may as well be the most compact hypercoaster ever built. The ride was built on top of Spring Creek as well as Comet, the park's oldest operating wooden coaster. The manufacturer of Skyrush, Intamin Amusement Rides, are well known for delivering unique designs that match a customer's desires. At the time, I believe that Intamin was the only company capable and also willing to fit such a large coaster into such a small piece of land. Bolliger and Mabillard, or B&M for short, is another coaster firm famous for their hyper roller coasters. Hershey most likely contacted B&M as well at the time to see what they could do. However, B&M follows stricter guidelines when building their rides. B&M hypercoasters are sprawled out over massive amounts of land, so that the coasters aren't too compact and too intense as a result. I believe B&M most likely turned down the project unless Hershey Park could come up with more land to work with. But at the time, this was about all the extra land Hershey had. In order to fit the tight space, Hershey's first hypercoaster had to be compact. Intamin took on the challenge and designed Skyrush with very tight turns and low-to-the-ground airtime hills to make the coaster fit the space. This led to a very intense experience. Tighter turns mean higher G-forces, and the lower hills of the ride offer an insane amount of ejector airtime. In fact, Skyrush is the most intense hyper roller coaster I have ever ridden, and easily one of the most intense coasters in the world. The trains on Skyrush feature a strange lap bar known for pinning guests' legs during the ride. The lap bars rest on riders' thighs and tighten during the ride due to its design. Thus, the restraints can become quite a bit painful by the end of the ride, and Skyrush has earned the nickname Thigh Crush. As much as I love the ride, I can't deny that it can be awfully uncomfortable. Now, many people love an intense ride, especially roller coaster enthusiasts. I, for one, absolutely love Skyrush. However, the same cannot be said for many members of the general public. For one, many riders may find Skyrush uncomfortable due to the restraint design, and two, the ride is ridiculously intense. Not even all roller coaster enthusiasts are fans of Skyrush, and the ride has earned a polarizing reputation. Coaster fans seem to either love or hate the ride, so I can't imagine how the general public reacts. I've heard from various sources that Hershey did not want Skyrush to be so intense. Going into the project, the park thought the experience would feel similar to the intensity of other Intamin hypercoasters, like Superman the Ride at Six Flags New England. And Superman is a much less intense roller coaster. So to me, I don't think Hershey was completely satisfied with the experience Skyrush had to offer, as it wasn't what they intended. While Skyrush was still a great investment for the park, and it seems to me like it was an economic success. The ride always has a line and is still loved by many. Over the years, Hershey was able to acquire more land that they could expand upon. They decided to build a brand new park entrance along with a second hyper roller coaster named Candymonium. Candymonium is a B&M hyper roller coaster featuring a height of 210 feet, speeds up to 76 miles per hour, a track length of 4,600 feet, and will open in 2020 alongside Skyrush. Since Candymonium is a B&M hypercoaster, it will be much less intense than Skyrush and should offer a much more comfortable riding experience for the masses to enjoy. I believe Hershey is building this second hypercoaster to 1. Satisfy the original intent of building a hypercoaster aimed at the masses, and 2. To complement the highly intense experience offered by Skyrush. Hershey is now one of the only parks in the world to offer 2 similarly sized hypercoasters that will offer 2 completely different experiences. It's kinda like how Hershey opened 3 brand new drop towers at the same time in 2018, all located directly next to each other. Each tower offers a different height, speed, and intensity, which allows guests to choose the experience most fit for them. Candymonium will be the less intense hypercoaster catered for most guests, while Skyrush will continue to be the park's most intense attraction for adrenaline junkies. The park has even coined the relationship between the 2 rides, Candy Crush. To me, this is an excellent move and it makes a lot of sense. I have no doubt that Candymonium will do absolutely amazing for the park and that the majority of guests will absolutely love the ride. For the general public, I could see this ride being the overall fan favorite. Yeah, coaster enthusiasts may be mad that Hershey chose to build another hypercoaster rather than an RMC or some other coaster, but you have to remember that us coaster enthusiasts make up such a small amount of the market the park attracts. At the end of the day, the general public is the most important group a park needs to attract as they make the park the most amount of money. And I'm sure the people who run Hershey Park are industry experts who are much more qualified than any of us, so I'm sure they know what they're doing. Anyway, I cannot wait to ride Candymonium in 2020. I am expecting the ride to offer a similar experience to Mako at SeaWorld Orlando, which is one of the best B&M hypercoasters ever built. I already love Hershey Park, and now I'm even more excited to get back to the park for Candymonium. Be sure to let me know what you think about all of this in the comments down below. This has been my thoughts on the situation, and I hope you enjoyed the listen. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.